Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the process called as gametogenesis. Students, gametogenesis is the process in which cells undergo meiosis to form the gametes. Now over here we have two terms, one is cells and one is gametes. Cells basically over here stands for the germ cells and gamete stands for the reproductive bodies which are formed from the reproductive organs. For example, students, ovum over here is what? Ovum is the female gamete which is produced from the female reproductive organ called as ovary, and sperm is actually the male gamete which is formed from the male reproductive organ called as testis. Now these two gametes, they are formed as a result of process called as gametogenesis. Specifically students, the process of formation of ovum from the germ cells in case of female body is called as oogenesis, whereas the process of formation of sperm from the germ cells in case of male body is called as spermatogenesis. Students, today we are going to discuss about only the spermatogenesis part which occurs in case of the male body. Now students, the story begins with the change in hormone. Now what is it? Basically students, there is an increase in the gonadotropin releasing hormone in case of the male body during the puberty. Now the increase in the gonadotropin releasing hormone in case of male body acts upon the anterior pituitary gland. It acts upon the anterior pituitary gland, and as a result this anterior pituitary gland is stimulated to form two hormones which are also called as gonadotrophins. One is luteinizing hormone students and the second one is the follicle stimulating hormone. Now students, the luteinizing hormone is also written as LH, whereas the follicle stimulating hormone is also written as FSH. And students, remember, they are also called as the gonadotropins. Now why are they called as the gonadotropins? Because if you just try and understand the term gonadotropin, there is a term in it, tropin. What is that tropin over here students? Tropin is a hormone that induces the release of other hormones. It means students that luteinizing hormone and the next one, which is follicle stimulating hormone, must be responsible for the formation of some other hormone. So which is that hormone students? Basically, let us just come back where we were. We were upon the luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone students then does what? It acts upon the Leydig cells. Now what are these Leydig cells students? Leydig cells are basically, as you all know, are also called as the interstitial cells. Have a look at the right corner students, interstitial cells. Basically students, these interstitial cells are present in the spaces which are there in between the seminiferous tubules. You all must be knowing about the structure of it. So these interstitial cells is what we are talking about. So luteinizing hormone act upon the Leydig cell, also called as the interstitial cells, and thus what? It is stimulated to synthesize and secrete what? To synthesize and secrete another hormone called as androgen. Now students, as these androgens are produced from the luteinizing hormone, thus this luteinizing hormone is also called as gonadotropin. Tropin because this hormone is leading to the formation of another hormone called as androgen. Now students, coming on to the follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone, it acts upon the Sertoli cells, and as you know, Sertoli cells are present inside the seminiferous tubules. Again, inside this particular diagram, if you see, so inside these completely somewhat oval shaped structures which are called as the seminiferous tubules, they are basically tubules and this is the transverse section of it. Inside these cells are present. So the these cells which are present at the bottom, they are called as the Sertoli cells, which helps in the nourishment of the sperm. Now what happens students, when the follicle stimulating hormone, it acts upon the Sertoli cell, it is stimulated to actually create certain factors and to maintain certain factors which are responsible for the process of spermiogenesis students. Now there is a difference between spermatogenesis and spermiogenesis that we will be studying later on students. Now students, we will be studying the complete process, exactly how the sperms are produced from the germ cell. So students, just have a look. I'm just doing it for you, students. Now students, what we are going to start with it, exactly how the complete process occurs, exactly how the germ cells leads to the formation of the complete well-developed sperm. Students, the process begins with spermatogonia. Now students, just have a look at the left corner over here, the left upper corner. It is written spermatogonia. Now what are these spermatogonia, students? Basically these spermatogonia are the immature male germ cells. If you remember, students, we were actually discussing about the germ cells earlier. I was talking about the germ cells, students, that the germ cells are converted into sperms. These are the germ cells, students, and these are the immature germ cells. What are they, students? These are the immature germ cells. Now students, these immature germ cells, they undergo the mitotic division. What happens, students? These immature male germ cells, they undergo the mitotic division. Now students, why is it so? So as to increase in numbers inside the body. And when does this happen? This happens during the puberty. Now once the this complete process occurs, that is mitotic division, in which the spermatogonia, which are the immature male germ cells, they undergo the mitotic division. It leads to the formation of primary spermatocytes. Now students, what are these primary spermatocytes? These are nothing but the cells which are produced as a result of mitotic division from the spermatogonia. Now students, not all the cells which are produced from the spermatogonia are primary spermatocytes, but in a particular period of time, some of the cells, some of the cells which are produced from the spermatogonia, they behave as primary spermatocytes. Now which are those cells, students, and how can we say that those are the particular cells where we can say that they are the primary spermatocytes? Students, have a look at these characteristics. These cells which are basically produced as a result of mitotic division from the spermatogonia, there is a change in these cells. And which is that change? There is increase in size, and they get nutrition as well, and there is rich chromatin, nucleus also, students, and there is dense cytoplasm. So the cells which are produced as a result of mitotic division, some of those cells undergo these changes, students, and these changes are very much responsible for the next process of meiotic division to occur. Now the cells in which these very changes occur, those cells are called as primary spermatocytes, and they are ready to undergo the first meiotic division. As you can see over here, students, we are talking about the first meiotic division. Now students, when the first meiotic division occurs, until the primary spermatocytes, the number of chromosomes we were having were 46 only. But now after the first meiotic division, which is actually what? It is a reductional division, students, remember it. It is a reductional division. What is reduction over here? Reduction in the chromosome number. So what will happen? We will be able to see the reduction in the chromosome number over here. So after the first meiotic division, these primary spermatocytes does what? They actually have the reduction in the chromosome, and one of these particular primary spermatocytes, it forms two secondary spermatocytes, students, and these secondary spermatocytes, each one of it has 23 chromosomes. Each one of its students is having 23 chromosomes. Now students, once we get these secondary spermatocytes, these secondary spermatocyte, each one of it undergo the second meiotic division, and students, the second meiotic division is an equational division. Now what happens, students? In the equational division, each of the secondary spermatocytes leads to the formation of two spermatids. So we can say from one primary spermatocytes we have 4 spermatids, students. Have a look. From one primary spermatocytes we have 4 spermatids. Now students, as it is an equational division, there is no reduction in the chromosomes. So in each one of the spermatid we have 23 chromosomes. Now students, next process over here is after the spermatid is formed. Students, after the spermatid is formed, these spermatids undergo differentiation. Have a look over here. Differentiation. What is differentiation? Differentiation is actually nothing but it is the specializing of the different parts of a particular cell. So these spermatids, they are differentiated into different specific parts that you can see. Here is a diagram, student. This diagram is going to tell you how each and every part of the sperm is differentiated. The structure of the sperm we will be discussing in detail later on, students. But after the differentiation, these spermatids are converted into spermatozoa, and the spermatozoa, students, is also called as the sperm. Spermatozoa and sperm, they are similar things, they are not different. So the spermatid is converted into spermatozoa or sperm through the process of differentiation. Now students, this complete change from the spermatid into spermatozoa is called as spermiogenesis. This is the term that I was talking about. We will be studying in detail. The spermiogenesis is what? It is the complete formation and transfer of spermatid into the spermatozoa through the process of differentiation. Now students, when this particular thing occurs, it leads to another process. Which is that process, students? I have written it in green color. It is spermiation. Spermiation is nothing but the release of the sperm from the seminiferous tubule, students. Once the sperms are ready to go, they are released from the seminiferous tubules, and this process is called as spermiation. Now students, where did the Sertoli cells go? Sertoli cells were very important. So where did they went? Students, remember one thing. Before the spermiation, there is another thing that occurs, and that is the embedded. What is embedded? The sperms, the spermatozoa, they are embedded in the Sertoli cells. Why are they embedded in the Sertoli cells? For the nutrition to occur. So then what happens is, these very sperms, or I would say spermatozoa, they are embedded in these Sertoli cells for the nutrition, students. Now students, have a look how the spermatogonium over here, one after the other, it is getting converted into the spermatozoa, which is a differentiated body called as sperm. Fine, students. Now students, we are going to start with the structure of sperm. See students, let us just have a look at this animated video, which is going to help you understand how the structure of sperm look like. See students, look at the motility of the sperm. It can move because it is having a tail. Students, basic structure if we start with, it has head, students, which is the most interior part. It has neck, it has middle piece or the mid piece, it has tail, students, and it has the end piece as well. Now students, what is this head is made up of? That is also we are going to start with. Now students, you can see before the head there is something written over here called as plasma. What is this plasma, students, over here? This plasma is nothing, this is the plasma membrane, and this plasma membrane is what the complete sperm is covered with. Okay students. Now students, starting with the head part, the head part consists of acrosome. This part you can see, students, this is a cap shaped structure called as acrosome. Acrosome is very much essential during the fertilization, students. It is the most important thing which helps in penetration of the sperm into the egg, I would say, the ovum. Now students, the next one if we just consider is the nucleus part, students. Before the neck, if you see, there is a nucleus part as well, students, and this nuclear part, students, is actually, let me just show you, students. So students, this particular portion if you see is called as the nucleus. And remember students, this nucleus is very much essential because this is haploid and this is having 23 chromosomes which are going to fuse with the 23 chromosomes of the egg, and together they are going to form 46 chromosomes of the zygote, students. Now students, the next one if we consider, here is the neck part, students. Now inside, students, we have the exoneme. This is the middle piece, students. It has the exoneme. Exoneme are nothing, students, but they provide the structural support. And if you see, students, these are the globular structures, the highlighted globular structures. These are the mitochondria which are responsible for producing the energy for the motility of the sperm, leading to the next part, students, called as the end piece, having the tail, students, and having again the exoneme which provides the structural support to the sperm. So students, I hope that you would have got exactly what is the structure of the sperm, which is very much essential to understand. I hope students you have become very much clear with the topic. Thank you everyone.